Hey Meg, how you doing?
I'm sitting here yelling, "Hey, Adam, Adam, Adam," and you're ignoring me. I mean, unmute makes a lot of difference, doesn't it? I'm good. Thanks so much for joining us. Where are we with Killer Coda? Have you gotten people on your Killer Coda
Oh,
projects?
straight in there, straight in.
Yeah. Before everybody
So
gets here.
yeah, yes, Ayush is on it. We've had a couple of technical, basically just learning Killer Coda rather than any kind of Keptn technical issues. So
Okay.
yeah, there was a few people um wanting to get involved. I don't know where they've all gone though. Obviously, that issue is what I'm using as the source of truth. So yeah, it's still as far as I'm concerned, the more the merrier. It's open to everyone. But as far as I'm aware, it's only Ayush working on it at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, I think some people have dropped out. We're not terribly well organized for this thing this year, and some people may have been disappearing. But, did you see the items I've got? So for season of docs, I don't know how many projects we can do, and do we propose as many as do we propose some that we might not do, or should we just propose the ones that we think we're gonna do, or?
Uh, Great question.
Hi, Yash.
Yeah, hello Meg.
For-
Hello Adam.
Hey Ash. Um,
This is all, I'm just confused about what's going on this year, and I know it's because it's everybody's overwhelmed with what they've got going on, but
well, I think I'm confused as well, to be honest. I'm happy to not the Google Summer of Code, let's leave that aside. The Google Summer of Docs. I'm happy to mentor something around the lifecycle toolkit. I think we need some good or better installation docs because as you saw the video that I put together,
has tons of stuff that aren't in the docs.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's a high priority, and it's a good writing. A couple of the others that I've got aren't really writing, and we've got a couple of hardcore writers here who want to do docs. So, Yash, are you still speaking to me after what I did to you on your PR?
Yes, I have replied over there. So I was not able. Means I had not seen some of the PRs from different folks who had made them. So yeah, in the upcoming PRs, I will thoroughly check the PRs and then make my PR so that
Terrific.
it won't get merged. Any merge conflict won't occur.
Okay. Adam, Yash did what we all did. He did a PR that should have been about 9 or 10 PRs. So, and I kind of hated to do it because we've all done it, and I know what it feels like when they come back and say, no, you have to redo this, but also figured that everybody has to do that. Yash, when I did it, it was yours is not going to be terribly hard to clean up. Mine was a nightmare to clean up. And I swore at the person who did it to me the whole time I did it, but I never lost the lesson, and I've been good since then. So it does eventually make a lot of sense. So
Yes.
Guilty as charged. I do think there's a trade-off though, because if you do, there's a lot. I wonder if there's a metric where, the amount of innovation lost in PRs that sit there, not just Keptn, but on GitHub in general.
right.
Because if we have PRs for 2 or 3 lines of code changes, you end up with a different bottleneck, which is thousands of PRs that need to be reviewed by somebody.
Right.
So it's a really tough balance.
And it really is, and it's important. Like I already got caught on one where I had split out the what is the KLT from the getting started stuff. And then people were messing around with little picayune comments and then, waiting 2 weeks to come back to approve the fix and stuff. And you came in and added all that great stuff for the intro part. And I ended up with, all those unresolved things. So that's another thing, is that getting them reviewed and merged quickly is a
Yeah,
good thing.
yeah.
So We're having some growing pains right now. I think it'll get better. I don't know.
think if we can encourage people to actually get involved in the membership levels, you know, so that we can ultimately get more people up to be maintainers of it. So we've got more people reviewing PRs,
Right.
pretty much.
And and get some non-maintainers, because I mean, when I was not a maintainer, I worked with people and I could still go through and do a review and catch some stuff and even flag stuff for the maintainer who was going to do it and make it faster for them to review.
Yeah.
So that, you know, the more eyes you get on this. So I don't know. Well, we're recording and it's 6 minutes after. I thought more would come, but Yash, I guess it's just you. Did you have anything that you wanted to discuss?
Yeah, I would like to discuss the issue that you have raised. So alongside with the LTI stocks, I can also contribute over there. I had asked a question over there over the issue.
Okay.
Yash, could you? Oh, I was going to say, can someone share the screen? Because I've got no
Yes.
idea what you're talking about.
Yes, I'm
Bring me
actually,
up to speed.
and what I'm about to, what I'm sharing here, is it going to help? There's our, let's put in, let's, whoopsie, and I can't type. And then let's see if I can find that PR. That's not where I want to be. I've got too many tabs open. That will work. Do. Oh, it's not. Don't do this to me. Get documentation ones up. You remember the number?
Yeah, yes. The PR number is 1067.
There it is.
Yes.
And Adam, for background, should give me a link to the go look at the epic. We can get to it. There was the epic. So this is the epic. It's basically taken the tons of stuff that we've got in the 2 contributing MD files, and we're going to move them out into this contributing guide that will be, and then the contributing MD files will have links to the appropriate sections in there. But so we had this, and so we had all of these tasks, and Yash basically did all of these tasks in one PR.
Nice one. Well done.
And Amish has done I think a couple of other people have worked on them, etc. It's a party. So okay. So Yash.
Yes.
Yeah, speak to us. What would you like to discuss?
So I would like to create separate PRs, the one which have been not created or by other folks. So yeah, I will go through all the PRs which have been listed and will make the specific PR which need to be made. So I have seen 2 to 3 PRs have been raised from this whole epic issue. So I
Okay.
will neglect the 3 ones and work on the remaining issue which have been not worked upon.
Okay, good work. And with each of them also, like if it's something you can't, like the ones for, it would not hurt to have a fresh set of eyes, like the one for working with GitHub. To click through those instructions and see, because every time I go through it, I find, oh, we forgot to say this. So look and see if there's stuff missing or if it works.
Sure.
And there's still, everybody I talk to has a different theory of what is the best way to hurt your brain, etc. So yeah, so good work. And yes, and feel free, the other ones that are coming up out there, it'd also be great if you reviewed their work too, if all you guys reviewed each other's. And
Yeah,
cool.
sure.
And then we'll get this thing up and going. Excellent. So does that do it for that? Let's see. Uh, oh, I'll put the number in later.
So Yash, is there anything you actually need our assistance on, or is it just for information so that we are waiting for
No,
you to?
I will like to mention this only, that the issue part, the whole PR, but yeah, it will be sorted out soon.
Awesome.
Okay, and we'll watch for it and try to get it the merge quick. And oh, and that's also contributing guide while we're with just you, you're on there. Are you interested in GSOC or the Seasons of Docs? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I will be interested in GDocs.
Okay, you're
particular.
interested in GDocs. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have, we have a few things here we can discuss. Do you have any projects in mind? Or
For
anything?
especially for Keptn. Or
Yes.
I don't have a structure, but yeah, if I will like to work upon it. If you want a basic structure, yeah, sure, I can work upon that, and I can provide you with some sort of structure, how
I
the
th-
documentation must be there.
We've kind of agreed on that, on the general structure of the docs.
Hmm.
Yeah, we do have that, and we discussed it a couple of weeks. Let's see if I can find it. It may change as we go, but I think we've got something that we can work on. Oh, let's see. Proposed doc structure. Which, so what we propose, these are the major titles. There'll be a getting started, which hopefully is going to include a killer coda-based exercise. Some product overview, or some of these titles may change. What is KLT, whatever. Functional architecture overview, an installation section. People like the topic user guide, basically how do you create and run and manage Keptn a lifecycle toolkit application. And then there will be some reference pages. Oh, and the contributing guide. Is that far away from what you had in mind?
No, basically, yeah, we'll go through this issue and we'll let you know. I will go to the issue first.
Yeah. What are your particular documentation interests? Are you, by the way, hi Simon, I was waving at you, but I didn't have my camera on, so that doesn't help you a lot, does it? So back up to where we are, Lord. Are you, well, let's walk through what we've got. Killer coda exercises. Adam, you want to speak briefly about what sort of projects and then we'll see where there's interest, and then we'll write up a few more specifics in the next day or two for each of these that if there's any interest. But do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So as most people will probably know by now, we've got a killer coda exercise for Keptn, what we're calling Keptn V1, which is the in-browser, play around with Keptn in a browser. We don't have that yet for the lifecycle toolkit. So that's basically what we need to build, but also obviously document that and make sure that people can find it, and it explains it. So we'll need a page on the main docs that just maybe even a paragraph that just explains it before with a link. Basically none of it exists at the moment, so that would be the project, is two-pronged. First, to actually create the thing, And Ayusha's actually started on that technically, but then of course, if no one can understand it or use it, then it's pretty pointless. So we'd need that blurb and that page and that structure on the documentation to go with it.
And then stuff too, if they do the exercise and they like it, where do they go next?
Exactly. Yeah.
And the other one that the one thing that bothers me, I love these killer code exercises, but I'm going back and like, oh God, they did that. What exactly was the command? And I have to go back into the exercise and page through it till I get to the thing that I wanted. And I may or may not be able to copy paste. So there's a part of me that wants accompanying doc that goes the whole way, but I'm not sure if that makes sense to do. It's something to explore.
Well, actually, that's a very good point. Another part of this is the Keptn v1 killer code is currently sitting on a third-party person's GitHub. I know we've discussed moving that into an official Keptn repo, and that's going to come with the Peribolo stuff that Simon's doing. Everything should live under Keptn though, and then we can at least point out, because all of the killer coder stuff fundamentally is either a markdown file or a shell script. Behind the scenes, that's all it really is. So in your scenario, we can actually point to the repo that contains the tutorial and say, you don't have to page through the tutorial and wait for it to load and install. Here's the shell script, or here's the command, for example. But I agree, it's a bit clunky. We need to figure out a nice way to do that. And if that's duplicating, or if that's pulling that into docs, then that's the way we do it.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one is to work on the landing page here, which is kind of wild and kind of a mess. We've added stuff and taken stuff away, but nobody's looked at it as a whole. I personally don't care for the aesthetics. The blue in the back I like, but the rest of this, to me, it's messy, etc. And then up on here, we've got a link to integrations, which is nice, but that also shows up in the docs. So do I really need it there? I don't know. I mean, it involves some judgments. We still have a link for tutorials, although we have almost no tutorials here. Again, is that worthy of being there for a thing? And if you get to the tutorials, you see you don't have a really good way out unless we go, oh no, we go up there. No, we have no way out, do we? I have to go back here. Really hate that when I can't get back where I was. Resources. This was done when, I think this was put together when Keptn was first starting. And a lot of this material that's in here is way out of date, and there's much better and newer stuff that's there. And then community, and this is, now is this, Simon, is this currently linking to the community page?
The community on the Keptn page is actually still referencing the own content sections within the Keptn documentation. But we are preparing this as we are in a prepare this, that this comes out of the community repository, so we can easily integrate it with other, with the lifecycle toolkit, and that we have one source of truth for our community files, and we do not need to maintain it twice actually. So
right. Oh, look at this. We're hosting monthly Keptn user groups, and I had missed this one. Developer meetings every 2 weeks. All these meetings happen in these approximately 8 to 10 a.m. and 3 to 5 p.m. Yeah, this is all, etc. You get the idea, and then you go here and you get to Keptn v1 docs, and then you go into the lifecycle toolkit and look at what we have here. We have a link to releases. Oh, do we get one more thing if we go into development? Yes, then we get, here we'll put a link to the contributing guide that you're currently working on, actually. But other than that, gee, even from there, okay, at least I can go back to there and get to the docs. But I sort of lose any of this stuff there. So there's a lot of stuff, it's not defined what needs to be done. If somebody wants to work on it, though, there's a lot to look at it, see what's wrong, what should be moved, what should be rewritten, what should be buried deep in the backyard, etc.
If I could actually, because
Mhm.
obviously Yash and Rakshit have come to Keptn and the project as a whole, you know, more recently than we have.
Right.
What, gentlemen, what would you, or what did you expect that you didn't see? What would be a good flow if you just came to the Keptn website for the first time? What were you needing? What was missing? You know, can we think about in that lens and then guide that guides the structure of what you need?
Good point. One more thing, by the way, I wanted to show another specific that, is, where is it? Down at the bottom. Oh, this just got changed. There was a link for contributing that was going someplace else in the contributing guide. You may have just changed that. Okay. Never mind. Any questions, people? The next one is a Simon one, so why don't you describe this, Simon? What this would be as a Season of Docs project. Simon?
No, we've lost Simon.
We've lost Simon. Okay, I suspect he will be back. One more.
I'm
in-
back. Sorry,
Oh, Gory, okay.
I heard my name.
Yes. The Season of Docs proposal, the tooling for the CI and etc. Do you want to speak briefly what that project would be?
Do we have a link for that? I wrote something somewhere. I know that, but I'm not sure. So now I know what we're talking about. So the part
You
is,
start to talk, I'll see if I can find it.
yeah, the thing I'm remembering the part where what we are talking about is actually we do have a lot of naming conventions or things how or we have certain names we want to use in certain capitalizations and things like that. And we are lacking actually a tooling to enforce that and to take a proper look at it. So that, for example, we always write Keptn the same way. That's always with a capital K and things like that. So there is a lot of tooling involved. So there are a lot of potential what we can do with our tooling to improve it. Also, spell checking, for example, is another certain topic which would be good to have. In solidarity bot, for example, so prevention to as a tool to enforce inclusive language, so that we are not using master and slave and all those kind of things. So just a tooling around the to reduce the things we as reviewers and as contributors need to think about, and to enforce it more like with tooling. There it is. I think it's 875. It's linked in this comment.
Okay, oh. Let's go there. Here you go.
Yeah, here we have it. Spell check, a dictionary to ensure that we have proper things. Well, and all regarding those, so topics which improve the developer productivity and reduce the burden and the things developers and contributors need to think about, because they're handled by a tool. And with that simple tool, actually, with a good tooling, we also educate people. And by the time, at the first, it's a little bit annoying that the tools already just chime in and tell you, hey, you shouldn't do that, or this should be different. But over the time, we will educate ourselves and we will get better, and we automatically will not do those kind of things the tool will complain about. No.
Okay.
I like that idea.
So, and we've got a couple of them in there now that probably need some refinement.
So Simon, just quickly, are you aware of any tools that do that, or would this be like to create
So-
them? Or I guess is the first bit would be research to see whether they exist, maybe.
Yeah, I have a set of tools I know, but I know them for over a year or 1.5 years. So I'm not sure if they are state of the art. For example, there is this in solidarity bot, which is a GitHub bot actually checking for those inclusive names. Then there is Markdown spell check actually, which can do spell check where you can define words which should be used, and you can define your own dictionaries, and it will suggest you things. The question is also if it's feasible, because most dictionaries out there which are used and often do not contain all the technical words and things like that. So you need to define a basic setup. Then there is theoretically also C-Spell, which is another tool for spell checking. So there are a few out there which can help us and guide us regarding that. The question is, are they still more likely the state of the art, or are there better tools and easier tools to use? That's more. So there's a little bit of research. I do not want to
And
tell people use this, and that, because most
I-
likely
the
there are
question is, what's the underlying style? Oh, the question of underlying style guide. I have proposed that rather than do our own, that we use the Google style guide. But we haven't really had a discussion on that. That has a very nice long list of terminology, of general terminology, and I think there are tools out there that check for that. It does not give us. We do not have a definition of terminology for our stuff. I mean, there are some people who say the logo doesn't capitalize Keptn, that we should not. I think Keptn used in text should be capitalized unless it's the commands, but we don't have an agreement of that. And other terms, can we say KLT, or do we always need to spell out Keptn Lifecycle Toolkit or Lifecycle Toolkit? When we talk about quality gates, is that uppercase, lowercase, whatever? So that is part of that. I put up this word list to start doing stuff, and I think I'm the only one who's contributed anything to it, and I haven't done as much as I should have on it. So that would probably be part. I mean, we can't start enforcing stuff until we have an agreement on what we want to enforce. So yeah, so that's a big, juicy, fun thing to do. Okay. And then the last one, Adam, why don't I throw up my epic that I did, but you talk about it, and you guys probably noticed that the installation docs are not adequate, shall we say.
Happy to talk about it. I'm not sure what I'm talking about though.
Oh, a season of docs thing just to create good installation docs, possibly with videos that go with them would be.
Or specifically for KLT.
Yes, for KLT.
Yeah, okay. So the easiest way to demonstrate this is actually just go to the Lifecycle Toolkit website and imagine that you're trying to install the thing.
Okay. And let's get the latest that we've got. And then, and for start, well, we have this, we've already graded, we know it's separate. Right now, install this Lifecycle Toolkit is underneath tasks. We will fix that.
Okay, so this is
And here we've got how to install 7 and 6 and earlier. And I'm not sure that those should maybe be titled differently. It's basically because then a 7.0 is Helm chart and says you can also do it with the manifest. And then
yeah, it's
6.0
just
is manifest.
this is better than I saw, to be honest, to start with. But even there, what you've got on the screen, you've got the manifest file is at version 0.7.0, and then you've got a big title that says install version 6. And oh, I see what that's saying. If it's version 6 and earlier, then you've got to include cert manager, and presumably there's a header above that says include 7. If you scroll up a little bit. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
it's 7 and above. Okay.
But we don't have anything, well, I suppose, I don't know, I've got to think the assumption I think for production installation is that you have a Kubernetes cluster where you're running your Argo CD or your Flux or whatever, and you're going to add this to it. But, does it have to be in its own namespace or its own pod, when you do that? And then the whole thing, what if you want to do a version that's just for your self-study and demonstration? So I think right now it looks like we're mostly using Kind for that. I don't know what we're doing with K3S, K3D. We did used to use those a lot for Keptn V1, but all that. We need information. We need a document like we have for Keptn that talks about what do you need, what sort of resources do you need to read this, to use this, and to list releases. So all of that sort of full-fledged installation. And then Adam, you may disagree. To me, I think part of the installation set should be if you put Keptn into your cluster where you're running Argo or Flux or whatever you're running, then how do you introduce KLT to your Argo Flux? How do you hook those up? And also your SLI engine, your Prometheus, your I guess Prometheus data Dynatrace is data yet? It's coming soon, I think. Somebody's working on Datadog. But how you connect those to what you've got. I would put that in installation. Would you agree?
You dropped out a lot there, and you kind of slowed down. But
Oh, I'm sorry. But how you would hook if you're a production environment and you're running Argo CD or Flux or whatever, how once you install KLT, how do you connect the two of them to each other?
I'm actually going to throw that over to Yash and Rakshit. What would you expect?
I would expect to find that in installation. I would expect the installation to have everything you need to know, the comprehensive. And then, in other use cases, we could mention it briefly, but we wouldn't have to go into great detail.
I don't think that it should be in the installation. It should be a part of the documentation, like in a separate thing, but not in the installation, I think.
What I don't want is every use case having great details about how you hook up Prometheus. We want one central place that has all the gory details, and then we can reference, just do the parts, in each
Yes.
case, right?
I think though, Rakshit, you were saying it doesn't necessarily belong in this page, but it does belong somewhere. And then is that what you were saying?
We can have a section like integrations, like how to integrate, and then reference a different page into the installation. So like have a different reference to another page in the installation for the integration.
Yeah, and that's I don't think installation should be a single page. It should be a section with multiple pages in it, right? Maybe it's installation configuration for that.
Yeah, I think installation really is, for me, it's just a bit of blurb around the Helm commands.
Yeah.
But you're right. Then installation on well, does that change? Because anyone can go and run a Helm command on any tiny little cluster for a demo. Does the installation, do your considerations change if you're doing this for real in a production environment? Do you need, and what changes? So that might be extra. It's not really good enough just to have the Helm commands. It would get you up and running, but would you then hit issues and have to redo everything because you need more space, or whatever the case may be? So
right. Yeah, and disk space also, as well as for different.
We don't have any docs for, and I don't know if this goes under installation, but how to write, or even really how to use in KLT the service, the providers for metrics.
Right. I was actually wondering if we would want, once we get an intro to KLT killer coda thing, I was almost wondering if the metrics wouldn't be worth a separate killer coda exercise. I'm not sure. Would you think it'd be worth that, Anne? Or just do it in writing?
Well, I think from what Ayush was doing, he is just literally at the moment trying to get whatever we have in the standard demo for KLT
Right.
ported into Killer Coda.
Right, that's the intro to KLT. I'm saying in addition to that, we've long talked that might be a place for some killer coda exercises on more advanced topics.
Yeah.
But, well, we don't, and this is also on my queue, we do not have a place, we don't step through then how you implement, what, when we have some reference material about some of the CRDs, but we don't have anything of, basically a use case where you step through and what order, you do this and this, and now test it and make it work, and now we'll add this and this or whatever. So, we got lots of docs to do.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking that for a season of docs, the installation would be a good writing project. We are,
I agree.
we're not, I suspect at most we are going to get 1 or 2 projects approved. I'm not positive of that. But would that be your guess, Adam?
I really don't know. I don't know what their decisions are based on, whether it's the number of mentors and the size of the organization, or how they decide what we are
Right.
allowed to have, basically.
Yeah, that's what I'm not clear about either. So I think, but we propose what we've got, our best stuff, and so so Yash and Rashid, I guess for you, are any of these the sort of projects that you're looking for? Do any of them sound interesting to you?
Yes,
Right now I'm more. Yeah, go.
will be interested in working in the installation doc one.
You're interested in that, in the installation docs? Was that Yash or Rashid? I'm sorry.
Yes. Yes.
Which one of you said you were interested in that?
Yes.
Yash? Was that
Yes.
Yash?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Rashid, do any of these sound interesting to you?
I am interested in the killer coda thing.
Oh,
Yep.
yummy.
But right now I'm more interested in GSOC. So like if I don't get into GSOC, then maybe I'll try for GSOC. I had one doubt related to GSOC. Can I ask?
Okay. I
Yes.
think
So
I think Amisha is interested in the landing page stuff. I'm gonna put that in with a question mark. I think she noted that in one of these files.
But yeah, Rashid, go ahead. What
Yeah.
was the question on GSOC?
yeah, so like I have come up with an initial proposal for the query time frame metrics project. So I wanted an initial review on the proposal. So where should I send my proposal for the review?
That is a very good question, because at the beginning of the call, Meg and I were saying we are confused because I originally proposed a project, but then I heard that it's actually really got nothing to do with us. Google take the mentees' proposals a lot more seriously. I'm going to catch up with Brad, who will know this, and I will make a note to get back to you and everyone, frankly, on that exact thing, because I thought we were all done for GSOC. But apparently the mentees, i.e. yourself, has to actually raise the proposal. And then as mentors, we come along and say, yes, I want to do that. So yeah, there's a bit of confusion. Let me get back to you on that one.
And definitely this is documentation only. A lot of the movers and shakers for the GSOC stuff are in the community meetings. Necessarily this, so, and of course the Slack channels. So do you have anybody reviewing what you've got so far, Rakshi? Do you have a name at all?
I didn't get you. Can you repeat?
Sorry, I
Meg,
didn't
can you
catch that.
repeat? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't get you. Can you repeat?
So you need somebody reviewing that. Do you have at least one mentor who's interested in your project?
Yes, yes. Thomas and Florian are
Okay.
my
Oh, you're
mentors.
in good hands
Yep.
with them then, yes.
I just wanted to get reviewed about do I have the technical things, or do my milestones match up with the expectations of the project? I just wanted to get review on that thing.
Right. But
So
sure.
should I ping Thomas and Florian for the
Yes,
review?
yes, definitely.
Okay, thank you.
As I understand it, and certainly what happened last year, the scope of the project, once things have been approved by Google and kind of we as the Keptn community are off and running, it's really between yourself, the mentee, and the mentors to really scope the project. It's the mentor's job to say, that's too big. Try something smaller, or that's not big enough. Let's try and push out the boat a little bit. It's your job as the mentee to then bring ideas or be flexible and shrink it down. But that's an agreement between you, the individual project.
Right.
And a lot of that is covered. Once the projects get approved, there is I think it was a week or 2 weeks at the beginning of GSOC that is purely for that. There's no coding, there's no documentation. It's purely meeting the mentors and the mentees, getting comfortable with each other, and agreeing the scope. I know I had a lot of back and forth meetings to do exactly that, to figure out, well, what can we achieve in the time? So that there's plenty of time is what I'm trying to say. Don't stress too much about that.
Yeah. Yeah, like we did a lot of setting of milestones in those first couple of weeks, the specific milestones, but I think the proposal is supposed to sort of say, well, I think this will take 2 weeks and this a week, and by the middle of the project, I expect to have this done. But then we can refine that in those first couple of weeks of the project. So Yash, do you want to start writing up a proposal for the installation docs?
Yes, sure.
Okay. Adam, are you interested in mentoring that? And I would be.
Yes, if I
Um,
can, if I'm actually technically allowed to, because I'll probably be mentoring a GSOC project as
Okay.
well. I don't know if they restrict you to one or the other. So
Right. And could see if more wanted to do it, but it's not going to work out for us. I don't, because he's about to go on paternity leave too. So it may not be a good time for him, but we might be able to get him in as an advisor or something to check the fine points. So I do apologize that there's so much confusion this year, but there are things going on, and part of this is that this year we're in under CNCF is doing the administration, so we don't have anybody, a Keptn specific person doing the admin. But do you have any more questions that we can help you with today? Yes, Rasit?
No.
No, from my side also.
Okay. So we don't need to look at open PRs. That was something I had on there if we needed something to talk about with a bigger group, but you guys both know what you're doing right now. So, anything else anybody would like to discuss?
No, all good. I'm gonna drop off.
Simon, do you have any tools
for the next
updates
one.
that you would like in the few minutes? I know you're busy.
Yeah, I can show the pull request what we are doing with the latest pull request more likely where we switch from Markdown lint CLI to Markdown lint CLI2.
Okay, why don't I stop
Show
sharing
what-
and
So I can show that. It's not like I need not to just a second. I need my time to get my screen ready for sharing because you do not like a 49-inch screen to be shared as a whole.
yeah, give me the letters I can read.
I'm sharing, sorry, and now
I see.
.com/ Keptn. So we do have pull requests. I do have too many pull requests open. Here we are, perfect. So actually what we are doing here is we are adding, as we are changing from Markdown lint to Markdown lint CLI. There's no big just fix a lot of errors here. There's no big difference. We just change the configuration from this Markdown lint YAML to and the Markdown lint ignore file where we define what is ignored and where we define the rules into a Markdown lint CLI2 YAML where we can have the ignores, etc. in one place. And additionally, we are adding custom rules here, and those custom rules, we have a follow-up topic if somebody wants to take a look at it. The follow-up issue is regarding updating them automatically. We have them currently added into our repository. And those two rules are actually Markdown lint rule minus max 1 sentence per line. Is actually a rule which will split up sentences based on certain configuration into multiple lines. So we do not have this long 500 line paragraphs and they will be split. We can change how we want to do that. Actually, we can provide more line endings and things like that. It's a little bit configurable, but this will automatically split long sentences into not long paragraphs into multiple lines. They will be still rendered the same way. And the other rule we are added is GitHub admonition. So a lot of people are writing admonitions like this style, or when they want to point something out or something important, like with this node and with the two asterisks, or even the warning part is also possible. And when we write it the correct way, like GitHub is suggesting, either in one line, but the node type is specific, then we will get rendered it in this nice syntax down here where we see the syntax is correct with even a node. And the same thing also applies to our documentation, because lifecycle Keptn SH, when you take a look at the document, is it on, do we have something at the getting started page? Most likely not. No. Now I try to find something where we, oh, it's on a, I think that's not, I need to go to the development.
Yeah.
Getting started. no. In the API reference, I think, and here, even here, you see that those are specially formatted and highlighted now, and not just written in bold or things like that. So they have a better meaning. There are two, based on this markdown lint GitHub admonitions. GitHub supports currently two different type of things. That's note and warning. So to highlight this differently, and this is something which is handled within that pull request to be added. And the follow-up task regarding this, regarding those rules, because we added them as files to make the tooling easy, that people can use Markdown lint even within the Visual Studio Code and get this information. We created an own task that we update those files automatically. I can even show you how this looks like in Visual Studio Code if you like, to make it easier for you to work with. I think that's a cool little gimmick too. So I will shortly starting to set up my Visual Studio Code. Sorry, and I share now Visual Studio Code. Share screen. So you should see now Visual Studio Code.
Yes.
Perfect. And I need to open a terminal for our lifecycle toolkit. I just need to jump to this. Okay. Git switch markdown lint minus CLI2. Perfect. So, and as a good example, I have installed for Visual Studio Code the Markdown lint plugin, so that it will also check my Markdown lint files, and I will simply edit the README and add at the end some things which should not be done. For example, I add here a heading. We had here two headings, and now I'm jumping as a heading of the level 2, and I'm jumping now here to a heading of the level 4, and when I hover over, it will say, hey, you incremented the heading in a wrong way. Same thing is when I write here my note. This is a note. Markdown lint will say, hey, you used the wrong GitHub admonition, and I can even do click here on quick fix and fix the violation, and it will put me into the right right syntax, huh? And the same thing applies also for sentences. So when I write here GitHub sentence 1, GitHub sentence 2, GitHub sentence 3, and it will complain here, hey, there's max 1 sentence per line, you violated this here. But there is a quick fix for that, and I can set quick fix this violation. It fixed it for here. So I can fix it per violation it discovers. Or what I can also do is when I run my make markdown lint minus fix command, also the make command, it will run through that and it will fix it and put all the 3 sentences on a separate line for me. It's still the same paragraph rendering wise. It will not change. So
how do we decide? I've been through so many religious arguments about the line length stuff. How are we decide? Does GitHub have a style guide that we're adhering to, or how do we decide which standards we want for our coding?
Yeah, this is more likely, also the one is more likely styling from GitHub, which is just we want to leverage the best tools in a best way possible. Admonitions within Markdown are really a high topic with a lot of discussions. I checked the common mark. Common mark is more likely the institution which defines how Markdown looks like, and there are a lot of different ways of doing admonitions. So this is just more opinionated rule. We can always deactivate it. And regarding the sentences, this is more a guidance which should prevent us, for example, in the community, which should prevent, as we prevent the cluttering. We do not say people should write a sentence per line. So if there is the need for having a sentence which spans across multiple lines for context, which is easier, it is allowed. We do not force people to one sentence per line, but just maximum one sentence per line for easier readability and maintainability.
Okay, but that's what my question is. How are we deciding this? So when we're going with the GitHub standards, not the Google style guide on this stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm not regarding that's the GitHub admonition is the only thing which is currently Google style guide based, and it, in my opinion, it adds a lot of value due to this rendering also with Hugo, this special kind of rendering.
Right. I'm not arguing what the standards are. I'm just asking what the process is for
With the
for
GitHub
defining what we're going to do.
for the GitHub admonition, I opened a pull request and said, hey, we can do GitHub admonition like this, and taking a look at it. So there was the rule was just more likely invented after, the rule was done after the pull request. So because I opened a pull request, author me closed.
I remember it.
There's this pull request, improve notes within the documentation.
Uh-huh.
So I wrote this here with this change, notes will be different. We had quite a lot of approval and a discussion regarding that. And I thought, well, this will happen more often, and I just simply wrote a rule which will more likely enforce us to have proper notes rather than doing this manually and take the burden off of people taking a look at it. So
Okay. Yeah, I was just wanting everybody to know what the process was. Yeah.
So for this rule, I took this based on the improve note, and the other one, this is a little bit more tricky because I think we had this discussion within. Moritz once did a pull request, and we started this discussion within the pull request. This was actually bad because we did not extract it into an own ticket or made it more visible. Besides that, there is a ticket for that even. We have this ticket with markdown link. There is the sentence. Wait a second. There is this. There is also this ticket about adding markdown rule, max one sentence per line, where we shortly discussed about this actually. No. Yeah. So normally we do everything with issues. In the ideal case, we do everything with issues or a pull request, but in a more transparent way. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it happens. Any questions, anybody?
No, I've just had a look, and that extension has been downloaded 4.8 million times. So it's pretty much a standard by now. I mean, that's good enough for me.
Yeah.
What kind of extensions?
The Visual Studio Code.
Okay.
The Markdown lint, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually the Markdown lint extension is actually also from the guy who writes Markdown lint CLI 2, and from the person who wrote, so it's the same person who wrote Markdown lint. So this is David Anson, and he did a lot. So it's not an organization; it's his private account, and a lot of people always say, "What? This is just a user and not an organization." But this is the official Markdown lint Node.js package ecosystem. No.
Yeah. I will say personally, I've been involved in more style guides than I ever would want to be, and I hope to never have to go through that process again. I will take almost anybody's style guide and adhere to it, not to have to go through that process. But that's just me. Oh.
Sorry, I've got to drop onto another.
Yeah, we're
call.
just about at
See you
time.
all
Does
soon.
anybody else have anything they want to discuss? Not have a great week. Thanks for coming, and I'll see you all in Slack and next week. Bye.
Bye.